Gabriela, congratulations on your film, I.S.S.
Ooh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's a wonderful film and much more of a congratulations being showcased at Tribeca. I would never imagine a film like this being there.
It doesn't really feel like a like a film that you would see necessarily at a festival. Yeah, no, I know. It's cool and hopefully a a welcome departure and audiences will react to it.
And I also have to remark it's also a departure of a lot of films that you do because I know I've talked to you for Blackfish, I talked to you for Megan Levy, I talked to you for The Grab, and this is a film that I would never expect you to actually direct.
It is, well, it's this little secret of mine. I am such a fan of thrillers. I'm a fan of horror movie. Like you wouldn't expect that, but oddly, like when I made Blackfish, I made it to feel like a thriller. And The Grab, my latest documentary, I made to feel like I wanted to make that to feel like a thriller as well. So if people like sort of pay close attention, they're like, okay, maybe she kind of wants this or wants to try, expand into kind of this space a little bit. Just because like I'm sit on the edge of your seat chopping popcorn kind of moviegoer, and I sort of wanted to be able to helm that sort of experience for other people. But yes, in terms of content, in terms of like real life storytelling and all these other types of genres that I've been involved in, this was a departure for sure.
So was the thrill of the script was the main draw that you wanted to direct this project, or was there something else? Was the story, the setting, the challenges? I mean, there could have been numerous factors into something like this.
That's right. I mean, I did like all the challenges. I like to be able to you know, play with toys and experience things that I had never done before on a film. But mostly I think what struck me about it and why it was something where I felt like, this could be a story that I could tell, or this is my story to tell, was because of some of the hard questions that it's asking about really how we continue to humanize each other in kind of horrific circumstances when the opposite is being asked of us. And I felt like that, that's something that has always struck me. I mean, I think that that's something that I tried to almost, I think you'll see that theme come through too in my recent documentary, The Grab. It's just this question I have, like, if, my success depends on someone else's destruction, where are we as a human race? Where are we as a species? And so that's something I kind of wanted to tease out in this film, is those questions.
That is something that I didn't realize before. Now thinking back to all your films, you do like to raise ethical and moral dilemmas and quandaries, as we can say.
Right, exactly. And just kind of put you, it's kind of like I want to put audience members in a tiny bit of a hot seat, right? Where you're not just subject to a bunch of, simple stimulus coming at you, and you're really asking kind of tough questions of yourself. And, what would I do? How would I feel? Or, like, just could I do life differently, as a result of having thought through some of these things. Yeah, I like that kind of engaged film experience.
So in a storytelling like this, that it obviously it starts with the script, but how do you actually execute it? Because this is I want to say it looks so real with your set
Yeah.
and everything else that you came. I mean, you said it yourself. This was a challenge because you like to do stuff that you have never done before. So how do you start with something? Someone says you're going to you're going to do a space movie, and but you never done it before.
Right, right. Well, for one, I think that everybody who knows where I came from and knows and sees that I did something like this, everybody should feel like they could do whatever they want to do forever. Every filmmaker should be like, well, that genre should be available to me in that genre, no matter what. Because yeah, if whatever, if it's, like it's a passion of yours or something you, or something like that, you will figure it out. With this one, the one thing that I think that I wanted for sure to be almost a like my footprint or whatever on this was exactly what you just said, and that is to keep it feeling real. I didn't want a space movie. I didn't want to make something that has just those sort of clean lines, and almost a sci-fi aspirational thing where everything's sort of perfect and clean and metal. I wanted it to feel like the space station. And so I had done all this research and read like Scott Kelly's book, A Year in Space, a bunch of books about people in there. And it's just like incredibly layered and messy. And there's stuff, from years and years ago, just still sticking to the walls, and I love that. Like, I just love that this is just like really a human, messy endeavor that we're doing up there. And it's not perfect. And that was my first feeling was like, well, I want to make the space station look like that. And so brought on Jeff Wallace, who's this production designer, and it just showed him the pictures, and he was like, okay, I know how to do this. And my cinematographer too, Nick Matthews, he sort of said the same thing, like, okay, well, we haven't seen a lot of this kind of thing, this depiction of space where it's not perfect. So it's visually, I kind of came into it first that way. In terms of just the VFX and that world, that having that many, and the stunts involved and really having people tethered for hours and hours and hours on end, that was all new to me. So that was all just sort of like, tell me how this works. How can we make this look the most real? And unfortunately, some of the most comfortable contraptions that we would put actors in, that made them a little more comfortable, didn't look like they were in zero gravity. So it was too bad, but we actually kind of didn't go with the most comfortable contraptions. We went with the uncomfortable tethers because it just looked like zero gravity more. So the actors went along with it, the whole crew, everybody went along with it, but it was a harder production as a result.
So how big was this production set on, I want to say, on the sound stage for you?
It was huge. It was gosh, I mean, we had, I forget how many nodes we had, but we had, these rooms that the production designer crafted so that they could sort of like be rolled around and attached to other ends and set dressed a little differently to feel like it was like, a larger space station than it was. But we were on, an enormous stage in North Carolina for 3 months, basically, with a gantry pulled over us the entire time so that everybody could be tethered and tied to the gantry. I mean, just crazy. So yeah, just so much went into every single day. As it was a tough production, and it was all during COVID. So it was very challenging.
Wow. Now, you mentioned about your cinematographer before, because I do have to give kudos to him, because the way how he and you filmed this, I feel like it was so confined and trapped along with the astronauts, and it was creating much more tension especially with the camera work into this. Could you talk about establishing that mood and the challenges, with camera in such a confined space?
Gosh, it was so difficult. We had we didn't have the typical abilities to be able to rig every camera out perfectly, because again, you're confined to this node. So oftentimes we had to green screen we had to, have, it was hard to explain, but we had to, tons of green screen constantly, and then build out the rest of the set later in VFX. So there was a lot of that to be able to give the camera movement. But we would, like just jibs and grips and gaffers, all double masked the entire time, barely being able to breathe because when we had the smoke in there, I mean, just like with these tight confined nodes, it was so intense. But we really, like my DP and I, Nick Matthews, we storyboarded, we did a shot list every single second. We shot listed. So when we went in there, we definitely had a plan. It wasn't like, let's just see how everybody feels today. But it was just like, no, because we have to move nodes, we have to move gantries, all this stuff to be able to prepare. So we spent just hours and hours and hours and days just going through every second to be able to prepare. So we had a game plan, but it was still very hard.
That is wonderful, and your cast is so much. There are troopers for going through this entire process, especially during a COVID production. Could you talk about your cast? And if I recall right, only 2 of the 3 are actually Russians in real life.
Exactly, that's right. Yes, so there's Chris Messina, and he was just the gamest person on the planet. Brings everything, every bit of himself to this, and he was kind of really early on with me in terms of just doing background research and just like, what is an astro, what is it like to be up there, how does it feel, what would a captain act like, a commander act like. So he was all in all the time. Pilou was just the same, in terms of just giving it his all, and he also was just like doing so much serious character work about Alexei. This is a scientist who doesn't talk very much, and it was such a joy to work with him. Ariana, I just call her, queen. She's just like so tough, and also just her physicality. I mean, she's just got like this emotional depth to her, and she can just feel things when she's there, but she also just has this physicality. She knows how to move, so she could be tethered and know what to do with her body and know how to move quickly through a node. It was super cool to watch that. Masha Mashkova is just like a dream of a human being to work with. She's just my Russian actress. So she just would invent moves and storylines and things for herself, to be able to just get so deep and emotional in this thriller. Like, I mean, a lot of actors would have come to this and thought to themselves that it doesn't really require too much character work. It's more physicality and it's more, thrillery. That wasn't the case with any of these actors. They all did like deep work and character work, which made it character driven. And it was just like, and Masha was just sort of, I don't know, like some of the stuff that she was doing, just people were, blown away by after her takes. John Gallagher, just have always sort of loved his work and his kind of naturalism. He is so razor sharp with everything he did. I mean, there's a moment where he speaks Russian, and these are long sentences, and he just did it pitch perfect every time. And the guy's like so prepared, so on time, ahead of the game. And also just, he's just a pro, and one of the biggest character surprises, I think, in the film too, because this is different from a lot of the stuff he's done. And then Costa Ronin is the Russian commander, and he also, I sort of was just sort of touched by his emotional depth and how much he wanted to bring towards this in terms of being a commander, and really being kind of almost old guard Russian about it, and also what he knew about the culture and what he knew about, like, he was teaching me as we went. So I was just a gift beyond belief to have worked with these people.
Well, it is a wonderful cast, and you've done wonderfully. But one of the biggest things is that I have to note is that all of your films are considered like indie projects. Are you ready to do, like, maybe down the road, a big blockbuster film? Because I wonder, like, what could you do if you actually had, like, a big purse?
I know, right? Um, I, I'm whatever. I'm ready for anything. I'm ready for, if the story's right and it's character driven, like any world is kind of fascinating to me. So I appreciate that you have that faith in me. Or whatever. I would be happy. I'd be honored to continue to do bigger stuff, smaller stuff, docs, the whole nine. But yes, to be able to play in that playground would be very fun too.
Most excellent. You know what? I can't wait to speak with you again because obviously I speak to you with on many, many projects.
I
So
love it. I'm so honored every time I see you. I'm like, yay. Thank
most
you.
excellent. We will see you again.
Okay, thank you so much, Gil.
Thank you.